Welcome, viewer, to the program Books and Nooks of Hope. My name is Philip Guy, and I'm your host for this show. And in this program, we talk about books, and nothing but books. We welcome you to enjoy listening, watching to these super carefully chosen books just for you. And you only get this program on Hope Channel. Today on studio, we have our guest, and this is none other than Tabitha Opio. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And today we are going to talk about a very, very special book by Richard DeLisa. And this book is The Credit Crunch Christian. 27 ways to look up when things are looking down. So what's this book all about, Tabitha?
I must confess that before I started reading it, I was wondering, credit crunch. What is Richard talking about? So I got to read it, and I have been giving this book to people because I realized that people are having problems with their finances.
Okay.
So when you hear of credit crunch, you just think simple could be defined as this credit squeeze. And we are relating to this.
Many times.
Times are hard, there is no money, and somebody still expects you to be positive. Really?
Yeah, finances are going down.
Every day.
You get a salary and it cannot meet all your demands.
Correct.
And so
you get your money, and before you even spend it, it's over.
it's over.
Right.
Okay.
People have bills, people have loans, people have so many, payments to make. So by the end of the day, they're so squeezed. But Richard DeLisa is just a saver, because he has talked on how we can handle this situation. Even when things are looking down, how to look up.
And he's giving us 27 ways to look up.
Correct.
That's quite a number of them.
Yes.
We'll look at them one by one. We may not exhaust all of them.
Right.
But it first tells us something like, don't panic. How do I not panic? I have school fees to pay. I have electricity bills. I have to fuel my car. I have to pay, my house rent. I have a mortgage, whatever it is. How do I not panic?
The truth is, what does panic add to you? It does not add anything.
Okay.
So you need to be calm. Just be calm and collected, because when you panic, you'll not even do the right thing, because you'll be worried about all these bills that you're supposed to take care of.
Okay.
So Richard talks to us on how not to panic, because when we are calm and when we're not anxious, because panic brings a lot of anxiety,
Yes.
you'll be able to reason.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, close to that panic, he
Yes.
also talks about don't worry.
Right.
This also comes with anxiety.
Exactly.
What does this all mean?
Worrying and panic, I always say they're almost cousins. They're in the same family. But when you worry about something, it still adds up to the panic part. Yeah, but they're different, because worrying is something that you want to, it will continue. But panic will just be like instantly, oh wow, I have like 1 million to pay.
Then
But
you run up and down, you don't know what to do.
You don't know what to do. Richard talks to us not to do this. We are told to relax and take it easy. And like if for instance you have like bills to pay, you are told how to do it. For instance,
Okay.
if you have like many, you are encouraged to even start with a small bills or small payments as you go.
Okay.
That one will also encourage you.
I find this book interesting because it has Bible verses. I look at on page 11,
Right.
and it talks about this verse in Matthew.
Right.
But if God clothes the grass in the field,
Surely.
which is alive today and tomorrow is thrown in the furnace, how much more does he clothe you?
Correct.
So even if I don't have enough clothes,
Right.
he still takes care.
He does, he does, because he knows that we need it.
Okay.
Yes, so if you worry, it will not help.
Okay.
So when we depend on God totally, he will, even that worry won't be there.
Okay.
Right.
He also talks about faithfulness. I think this is on page 26.
Right.
I have bills to pay and I just can't make ends meet.
Right.
But he's telling me that there is an important role faithfulness plays
Right.
in this part. What is this?
This is a story of, look at the story of Elijah and the widow in Zarephath.
Yes.
this is an interesting story. I always think if it was me, I would not even give. Can you imagine you have the last flour to cook your cake or to bake your cake or whatever?
Yes.
And then somebody comes to you and says, you know what, go prepare it, and then you first give me. Are you out of your mind?
Of course, I wouldn't do that under normal circumstances.
Yes, but this lady did that, and we know the end result.
Okay.
Because Elijah was sent by God. So, I'm talking about sharing. Are you talking about sharing?
Yes, we're talking about sharing. I'm talking about faithfulness.
I went to the wrong page. I went to the wrong page.
Well, tell us about that sharing
I
first.
know, right?
Yes.
But sharing comes before faithfulness that you're talking about. I don't know whether you can still go back to faithfulness.
Yes.
Yeah, because being faithful is really key. It doesn't matter how much you get. We are encouraged to pay our tithe.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Paying tithe is key. Because when you pay tithe, God gives it back to you.
Okay.
Now, many people misunderstand this paying tithe. Because they expect that, for instance, when you pay your tithe, it will come back double. But God has blessed you in so many ways.
Okay.
Be it health,
And
be
when
it
it comes to
family.
tithe, you're actually returning to God what He has already given
Exactly, it is His.
Yes, yes.
It is not yours.
to you. And
Yes.
it's only 10%. You're actually remaining with the bulk of it. You only ask for a small portion of it.
And somebody put it really right. For instance, if you earn 10 shillings a month, what does God require of you? Only a shilling.
Just one shilling.
If you're getting $1 million, so it does not matter how rich or how poor you are. Whatever God gives you is whatever you'll return back.
Okay.
Yes.
Go with me to chapter 7.
Right.
And this guy is talking about budgeting.
Right.
You know, many families out there go out spending their money without having a budget.
Right.
And without having to follow a budget line.
Right.
What is the danger of living without a budget?
Living without a budget is very dangerous. When you have mentioned, you talked about people buying things, it's just to please people who don't care. Because we want to live a lifestyle that we really do not have. We can't afford it. Somebody once said, cut your clothes according to your size.
Yes, yes.
If you're skinny like me, you cut. And if you're big like you,
Like me.
yes, you cut according to you, because it shouldn't be too tight on you or too big on you. So when you cut your clothes according to your size, you will not have to please anybody.
So this budget will actually discipline you to spend according to what you have.
Exactly.
So you don't just get into spree spending, you know, just spending anyhow.
Actually, you're supposed to spend below.
Okay.
If you have a shilling for the whole month, you're supposed to spend less than a shilling.
Okay.
So that you're also able to save.
So that keeps you safe within your a specific budget.
Right, right.
How about being honest in business? You know, sometimes because of a, cash crunch,
Right.
some people try to make more and spend less. So they try to do things like dishonesty in business. How does that come into this?
You pay back later. Being dishonest is really bad. Not
It's really
only
bad.
in business, but even in real life.
Okay.
You're supposed to be honest. When you're honest, it also comes back. Because you find, for instance, you go to the market. Something like, for example, when you want to buy maybe beans, 2 kg.
Yes.
These traders have, I don't even know what got into them, but they have a way of, I don't know how they mess up these containers.
They have different scales.
Yeah. So you think you're buying 2 kg, but at the end of the day, you'll be
It's
buying
not.
less than 2 kg. You think that you're gaining at that time, but at the end of the day, it will still come back to you, because God does not like dishonest people.
So even if you are hiding,
Right.
whatever wrong thing you do in your business,
Right.
it will come back to you.
It
You'll
really
pay for
does.
it.
It really does. Because somebody has definitely worked hard for that money and, prayed probably for it, for God to, bless them. And here you are taking what does not belong to you.
And
So
that's not right.
It is not right.
Okay. We are getting into another problem here. A lot of people are struggling with debt.
Right.
And as you mentioned earlier, you earn a salary, and before you spend it, it's finished. Why? Because it's gone into paying debt.
Right.
I look at this on page 59, and Richard here is telling us to get out of debt.
Right.
What is the importance of getting out of debt?
So that you are not a slave.
So being in debt means you are a slave.
Yes. Think about it. If I owe you some money, you're constantly thinking about that money.
Okay.
And if you're supposed to use that money that you're giving me to do something, will you be able to do that? you won't be able to because you owe somebody money.
Yes.
So being in debt makes you to be a slave.
Okay.
So we are encouraged to get out of debt. Just like I mentioned, you don't have to do it all at once.
Tell us how to get out of debt now.
Let me give you a simple illustration which has really helped us or helped me in my family. You have 10 people that you owe. Say you have maybe, let's give maybe 100 shillings. Somebody else you have maybe 1,000. Somebody else you have 2,000.
Okay.
Start from the least.
Okay.
To encourage you. So if you are going to pay that 100 shillings, you'll be like, you know what, I am done.
So you clear that 100 shillings.
Yes.
And you don't add any more debts.
Please don't. Please don't add. Some people prefer to start with the big figure or the
Okay.
large figure and come to the smaller figures. Some people prefer to start with the smaller figure to go to the bigger figure. So to the smaller figure. So it depends on you. But if you start like that, start small and you'll find yourself out of debt. Yes, you'll find yourself out of debt.
Now, there is another challenge here.
Yes.
There are some people who want to get rich, and they really want to get rich pretty quick. They don't want to wait for tomorrow. They want to get rich like yesterday.
I'm guilty
about
as
this?
charged. Who
Okay.
doesn't want to be rich, sincerely? But not the get rich quick. Because
Okay.
when you get rich quick, it also disappears quick. Yeah, because most of the times when you want to get rich quick, those are shoddy deals that you probably end up paying. Yeah, some people get into playing this, how do you call them?
This lottery.
Lottery,
Yeah.
yes. Or just conning people. The
Okay.
people, yeah. That is not allowed. It is not good in the eyes of God. God knows why he has not given you those riches that you want. Get rich quick is not the good way to be rich. Slow but sure and asking God to guide you is the surest and the safest way.
Okay.
Yes.
I find a lot of advice here given to us in the book of Proverbs, and this writer quotes quite a number of them on page 67.
Right.
Like tilling the land,
Right.
planning diligently. How important are these Proverbs to us?
Yeah, Proverbs is a book that I really love because these are practical things that we also see in our own self, in our own lives.
Yes.
Yes. If, for instance, if you look at Proverbs 12:11.
Yes.
He who tills his land will have plenty of bread.
Plenty of bread.
But he who pursues worthless things lacks sense.
Sure.
And sincerely, when you till your land, you will not get your results tomorrow. It takes time because you have to put in the seed, and it takes time, you know. And at the end of the day, when God has blessed you with the
harvest,
you'll be a happy person.
You'll rejoice, yes.
Yes, but they said, but when you pursue worthless things, it will lack sense. And we talked about playing lottery.
Yeah.
Yeah, lottery, sincerely, those are things that we should not do as Christians.
Okay.
We should not play those games as Christians.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's about planning, working hard,
Right.
and being diligent so that we get out of poverty
Right.
and get wealth, but not the get rich quick, but it's a gradual increase of wealth.
Correct. And you'll be
Okay.
satisfied with
Oh,
it.
thank you so much, Tabitha. We are talking about The Credit Crunch Christian, a book written by Richard DeLisa, and this is your favorite program, Books and Nooks of Hope. And this is a program where we just invite you to come and have a look at these books, buy them, read them, devour each and every page of these books while you're seated or lying in your nook, so that you may enjoy the pleasures that we find in reading these books. We are glad you're watching this particular episode, and we'll be back right after the break. Welcome back to the program Books and Nooks of Hope, the program where we talk about books, books, and nothing but books. I am your host, as usual, Philip Guy, and today our guest in studio is Tabitha Opio, and we are talking about a special book by Richard DeLisa entitled The Credit Crunch. And we have already shared so many things about this book. We have learned how it's important for us not to worry, not to panic. We've learned how we need to be faithful. We need to build a budget and stick to it. We need to get out of debt and stop this get rich quick thing. And today we also want to look at other things. Tell us something about investing wisely. And that's probably on page 73 of this book?
Yes. Investing wisely is key. Many times because we want to get satisfaction real quick, or we want to get rich quick.
Yes.
We want to invest in things that don't make sense.
Yes.
Yes. We are encouraged to invest wisely. Do, like for instance, you can talk to your financial controller if you have one, or you can also talk to, there are people that you can talk to for advice on how to invest. And investment does not mean you have to have so much money.
Okay.
It could start small. Yes, it could be different, you know, like different business, because people have different, like whatever you have is not probably what I have.
Okay.
So what you want to invest in could be maybe bigger than what I want to. So it doesn't matter how small it is, we are encouraged to do it wisely.
Not into something that is going to bring profit, not something that is going to drain the money that you have out of you.
Exactly. Like I always say, I cannot invest in clothes because I'll end up wearing everything.
Okay, tell us about lending and helping. I know Richard talks about lending and helping.
This is a problem that has really affected many people, because when you lend, I have to say, make sure that you will not be able, you won't want to use this money for the next even a year or so. Because most of the times when we lend, we get disappointed.
You expect this person to give it back to you, and sometimes they don't.
And that is why you're lending, exactly. You know, when somebody comes to you, oh, you know what, can I have, like, even if it's 2,000? Probably you really want to help.
Yes.
But if you are not, if that money was for rent or for any bill, don't give. Don't give.
That person may disappoint you.
And they have disappointed so many times.
Okay.
But when you decide to help, you know what? Tabitha, can you lend me 2,000? And deep down in me, I know that I won't use it. I could as well just tell you, you know what, I'm helping you.
Give it to you.
Yes.
Not lending it to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So lending, if you know you won't use this money for some time, then go ahead. But they also don't encourage it anyway.
Okay. Now, another challenge that people have is the love for money.
Yes.
I don't know what you think about this. Some people say money is really not bad.
Right.
But the love for money is the root of all evil.
That is
true. Tell us about this love for money.
You know, when you love money and you do not want to work for it, that is really bad.
Okay.
Yes. When you love money, work for it.
Okay.
Money is really good because it makes things happen.
Yeah, you can buy things, you can get yourself stuff.
You know, some people say that when you have money, you become a small god. You say, let it be, and it happens. Meaning, you go to you go to a fundraiser, and probably they were building a church and they needed 3 million, and you're like, hey, you give out the 3 million. Let it be, right?
Yeah.
So we should not, though, have that love for money, because when we have that love for money, we become so selfish. Yes, and we really don't care about others.
So it's really not about loving money, but about the things that money can do for us. Money should be a means to an end, not an end in itself.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, true.
Now, another problem that many of our people have is with saving. What can you tell us about saving? Why is this important? How do we develop a saving plan, a saving scheme for ourselves?
You know, most of the times we always want to have a blame game. If we can't save at my age and ask why, we always blame our parents. Probably they're also not taught, right? But we have books that will show us on how to save. Just like I said before, you do not have to have so much money to save. If you are earning 10 shillings a month and you're living below that 10 shillings, you'll be able to save even 1 shilling a month.
Okay.
Gradually, it will help. And most of the times after we have saved, in quotes, that is when we go to the shops or to the malls and, you know, use the same money.
You can buy as much as you want because you have it.
That does not help. That does not help. Can you just give yourself a plan, or like time plan?
Okay.
Or yes, for instance, you can decide, you know what, I want to save, God willing, for the next 5 years for this project.
So you're saving with a focus, with a plan in mind,
right,
with a time frame in mind.
Correct.
It's not just aimless saving.
No,
okay,
that won't help you. You know, for instance, if you give yourself maybe 1 year, you want to save 10 shillings. Of course, that is not practical. Let's give an example of maybe 100,000, right? 100,000 Kenya shillings, depending on how much you're getting. Somebody, that could be pocket change to them.
Okay.
Yeah, that could just be a 1 week's salary or money that they're getting within a week. But somebody, it will take them time to save. You can decide, you know what, if you're getting 10,000 shillings a month, you've paid your bills and you've bought your food, and there's maybe extra 2,000 remaining. You can decide, and you've paid your tithe. You can decide, you know what, every month I want to save 500 shillings.
Okay.
So whether it's hard or things are hard or not hard, you will not use that 500
And so you discipline yourself to that fact.
You discipline yourself.
Now, you've talked about tithe. You
Right.
actually mentioned it earlier on.
Right.
And I'm looking at page 107.
Right.
And Richard here tells us about returning the tithe. How important is this returning tithe?
God has told us to return our tithe. And when God says it, we have to do it. We have to obey.
We have to obey.
Yes. And you know the beauty about paying tithe? It comes with promises
Okay.
and blessings.
Okay.
Yes. When we look at Malachi 3:10, God clearly tells us that when we pay, when we return what belongs to him, we will get what, you know.
He will open the doors
He
and
will
windows of
open
heaven.
the doors.
Actually, the promise is he'll give us enough that we will not even have enough room to store it.
How about that? That is beautiful.
That's
and you know,
quite-
I used to think that when I give God 10, let's say 1,000 shillings for tithe, I thought that God would give me 10 times. So I was just looking at the money.
You are tithing in order to receive the blessing.
Exactly. And I was always getting very angry at God or with God, because like, hey, God,
Where
you
is
know,
it? Where is it?
What's
You
up?
promised.
I gave out my tithe. What are you doing about it? But I realized that it is not only in money. I realized that God has given me health. God has given me family. God has given me a job. You know, there's so many blessings.
But you know, it's even interesting that we give expecting blessings.
I know.
But God invites us to give because he has already blessed.
Right.
So you're only returning a portion of the blessing which he has already given to you.
Right, like if I give you my book, I expect you to return it. Why do I, like, I mean, if I give you my book, right? Why do you then, when you're returning it, expect even more?
I shouldn't even cry. I should be willingly giving it back to you
Exactly,
because it's yours
Tabitha,
after
thank
all.
you. You gave me this book. It's really helped me.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, you know what? Pastor was so faithful. Let me give him a bigger book.
Okay. Now there goes God.
Yes.
You become faithful.
Yes.
He gives you even bigger blessings.
Yes, it's smaller things. And then as you grow, because, hey, if you can't handle smaller blessings, how will you handle
You
bigger?
can't handle bigger blessings.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, there's a problem with the laziness out there.
Oh,
People
boy.
want to get rich, as you mentioned earlier.
Right.
They want to get rich overnight, but they don't want to work for it. Now, Richard here is telling us, let's go to work. How about that?
If you don't work, you don't eat.
That's what Paul says.
Yes. If you don't work, you don't eat. You have to work. And you know, I mean, if you work, you get that satisfaction, sincerely.
And when you eat it, you now enjoy because you worked for it.
You sweated for it.
Yes.
So we are encouraged to work. You don't have to really take that jembe and go to the shamba. There are so many ways in which we can work to get back. You know.
I mean, we can work hard.
Right.
We can work smart.
I like working smart. I like the smart part.
But still,
Yes.
whether it's hard or whether it's smart, we
Right.
still have to work.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, working is a must because the Bible has clearly indicated that we have to work. And when we work, the result comes back to us.
Okay.
Yes, we are encouraged to work at all times.
And so those who don't work, what do we do with them?
The Bible clearly says they shouldn't eat. It is not me who said it, the Bible.
So think about this parent who has grown-up children in his house.
Right.
Maybe they're teenagers.
Right.
Maybe they're young adults. But they just want to sit down there, watch TV or play with computer games or
Right.
just play on their WhatsApp and
Right.
Facebook.
Right.
And at the end of the day, they expect to eat.
It's
What-
unfortunate.
What should this parent do?
I think many times we want to blame the parents because, hey, how were they brought up? You know, if you bring up your child to let them know, like, you know what, I am here because of the work that I did. Your child will also want to get better than you. I remember my dad would always tell me, you know what, I am living in this apartment, but hey, when you get married or when you leave my house, I do not want you to live in this estate. And I didn't understand until I grew older. Because he wants a better life for me.
He wanted a better life for you.
Exactly. So that has always stuck in my head. You know, we need to be better than our parents.
Okay.
Yes.
And how does that come?
By working hard.
Working hard.
Yes.
Not just sitting there and relaxing and waiting for things to come on a silver platter.
And waiting for them to die so that you get the...
Inherit your parents' wealth or something like that.
No, it's not right.
Okay.
You need to work hard and get what you deserve.
Now, Richard here tells us to grow your own.
Yes.
You know, in hard economic times.
Yes.
How do you grow your own? How do you multiply that which you have?
You know, the beauty about growing your own, it doesn't have to, you don't have to wait for your neighbor to have it to start growing it. And growing your own could also mean even having that kitchen garden, for instance, and planting those tomatoes.
The sukuma wiki.
Or the sukuma wiki.
Yeah.
And that way, you know, you really end up saving so much. Because when you don't have to go to the market every day to go and buy the sukuma wiki or the tomatoes, you end up saving the little. Or you don't have to do the shamba thing.
Yes.
It could be business.
Yes, but you grow your business.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, it could be any form. You don't have to be like particular that, hey, your neighbor is a teacher, he wants to start a school, now you also want to start a school.
Okay.
You know, so
just do your own.
do your own, but gradual.
Now tell me something.
Yes.
Richard finishes this book by telling us to give thanks. What is so special about giving thanks?
You know what? If I gave you something, or if you gave me something and I brought it back to you and I'm grateful, whether it helped me or not, how would you feel?
I'll feel good, certainly good.
Exactly. Giving thanks, whether it makes sense or not, is really key.
So we need to give thanks
to God.
Oh.
We need to give thanks to God at all times because we are all in different situations and at different levels.
Okay.
So when we are in different levels or at different levels, we are supposed to be grateful at all times. And when we are grateful at all times, God will see our heart. Because many people are so they love to complain.
Okay.
Even when they are being blessed.
When they should not complain.
They should not complain. Find something to be grateful to God.
Give thanks.
Give thanks at all times.
Oh, that's powerful. This book, The Credit Crunch Christian, what a powerful book we have here, Tabitha. Just give us your parting shot for this powerful book.
If you are in credit squeeze, I will say a credit squeeze because I believe many people are in credit squeeze right now. This is the book to have that will guide you from step after step because you might not know. You might be panicking. You know, just stop panicking and you'll be able to do your stuff slowly and sure, and you'll get there.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, viewer. This is your favorite program, Books and Nooks of Hope. And this is the program where we just look at each book and we devour and enjoy and glean all the benefits that we can get out of these wonderful books that have been carefully prepared, carefully edited, carefully packaged just for you. And today we've been talking about The Credit Crunch Christian, written by Richard DeLisa, and our guest on studio has been Tabitha Opio. I am your host, Philip Guy, always delighted to have you in this show. Keep watching and we'll be looking forward to see you in the next episode of Books and Nooks of Hope. Please be careful enough to follow us on our social media platforms that are displayed on the screen. And thank you so much for being with us. Be blessed.